back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for
keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
All right, sorry about that, everybody. Didn't realize that my mic was not working, but we're good. We're good to go. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Thursday, October 24th. We have a lot to cover on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, tip or donate, get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following. Make sure to click on the super chat button in the chat to help create a super chat of any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast. I will acknowledge it. And it just makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate your guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker GSMCpodcast.net. That is GSMCpodcast.net. So, again, apologize for the technical issues to start out the show, and thankfully I caught it. Because there was, way back when I first started, I did I was halfway through my show, and then I was told that there was no audio coming out. And once I immediately started talking, I noticed that the levels were not moving. So, there was a little bit of an issue getting all set up here, but we're all good to go. So let's get into what we're going to discuss. So we're going to talk about Rams-Vikings. We'll preview that game tonight. We'll also get into talking about the Sunday night matchup between the 49ers and the Cowboys. It's a big game for both teams. In the third part of the show, we'll get into talking about the Bengals-Eagles game. Wanted to preview that. And then the final two segments, we'll take a look at the big college football matchups for this weekend, as well as the early slate of games on Sunday in the NFL. And then we'll take a look at the remaining games, the late slate, as well as taking a look at the Monday night game, because I will not be doing a show tomorrow or Monday. So let's get into the first topic, which is talking about the Rams-Vikings game. So the Rams are coming in at 2-4 on the season. They picked up their second win of the year against the Raiders on Sunday, and the Vikings, they are coming off of a loss, their first loss of the season against the Detroit Lions. And for the Rams, they're going to be getting Cooper Kupp back, which is huge for this game. Obviously, he's been out since week 2 with the ankle sprain, but he seems to be ready to go. And it's interesting that, he's been part of trade rumors. I discussed that yesterday. But as of right now, he is a Ram. And I guess maybe it all depends on, I think, how these games go between now and the trade deadline. If the Rams lose this game, maybe they'll feel more inclined to trade Cooper Kupp, because they're also going to be getting Puka Nacua back as well. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting. And I thought it was very interesting that the Chiefs, they tried to get him. I thought that would have been very, very intriguing had he gone to the Chiefs. To see Cooper Kupp and Patrick Mahomes team up, that would have been something. But we did not get that. Instead, the Chiefs ended up getting DeAndre Hopkins. And Cooper Kupp, for the moment, is still a Ram. So to kind of go through the rankings of these two teams. So when you look at the offense, the Rams are 13th in passing yards per game, averaging 232 passing yards. And the Vikings, they're averaging 232.3. So they're 12th, the Rams are 13th. Then rushing yards per game, I would have thought the Rams would have maybe have been a little bit higher, but with Kyron Williams, but they're 26th. They're averaging 100. They're averaging 100.3 rushing yards per game, and the Vikings are 17th, averaging 119.3 rushing yards per game. And then points per game, the Vikings are 6th, the Rams are 23rd. And then defensively, the Vikings defense is actually 30th, giving up an average of 287.5 passing yards per game. Rams defense is 21st, giving up an average of 227 passing yards per game. Against the run, Vikings defense is 2nd, giving up 80 yards per game. And then the Rams defense is 30th, giving up an average of 151.7 rushing yards per game. So when you take a look at that, you would think the Vikings will lean on Aaron Jones at times during the game, and he's had a good year so far for them. And then points allowed, the Vikings defense is 6th, and the Rams defense is 25th, giving up an average of 25.7. Vikings defense is giving up 17.8. And Matthew Stafford on the year only has 3 touchdown passes, 3 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. He has more passing yards than Sam Darnold. He has 1,392 passing yards to Sam Darnold's 1,370 passing yards. Darnold has 12 touchdowns to 5 picks. He's been solid for the Vikings this year. He's been a surprise. And both running backs are doing well this year. Kyron Williams has 8 touchdowns on the season. He has 436 rushing yards, and Aaron Jones has 443 and 2 rushing touchdowns. Justin Jefferson, he's been great. 531 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. He's probably going to have a good game tonight. And, again, getting Cooper Kupp back is huge for this game. The Rams are going to need him. And the Rams, they've been banged up this year. On the offensive line, you lose Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. And, they somehow are still in it. Because if we've talked about the NFC West a lot recently. They're a half a game behind the Niners and the Cardinals for second place, and then they're 1.5 games back at first place against the Seahawks. And, I don't think the Seahawks are going to run away with this thing. So if the Rams could pick up a win tonight, that would be huge. And then, you get Puka Nacua back, I would imagine. So, and it doesn't appear like T.J. Hawkinson. I don't think he's coming back tonight. I want to take a quick look and see if there's any news on his status. Maybe he's out for at least another week. But, if they were able to get him back tonight, I don't see anything. Let's see. So right now he's ruled questionable. So we'll see. Maybe he's out for at least another week. But, I've been saying, you get this guy back to go along with Jefferson and Addison. That only makes their team better. So we'll see if he does end up playing. Cashman, their linebacker for the Vikings, he's out with a toe injury. His expected return is week 9. That's a big loss on the defensive side of the ball. So the Vikings, for the most part, are coming in healthy. For the Rams, like I said, Cooper Kupp's going to be back for this game. But, they're missing some offensive linemen. Maybe a lot of guys I'm seeing here expect to return as week 8. So we'll see if they get guys back. But, Puka Nacua is going to be out for at least another week. Noteboom, one of their offensive guards, his expected return is week 9. So Whittington, one of their receivers, he's out for this game. His expected return is week 9. But you're getting Cooper Kupp back. So, and, I don't know what my expectations would be for him. They're going to try. I would feel like it's going to be similar to how it was, against the Lions in week 1, where, Stafford's getting rid of the ball quickly to him. I wouldn't be surprised if Cooper Kupp has a big game. But, if you remember, you go back to week 1, and, their offensive line got injured, and Puka Nacua got hurt. Stafford was getting rid of the ball quickly. to his receivers, and he's had to do that, really this whole year. I mean, I haven't watched a ton of Rams games. Really, the only one that I've been able to watch from start to finish was that Lions game in Week 1. Because other than that, I don't think the Rams haven't been on prime time. But yeah, I mean, getting Cooper Kupp back, that obviously makes his team better. And for the defense of the Rams, I mean, it's still a young defense, and it's going to be tough to stop this Vikings offense. Because even though the Vikings did lose on Sunday, I mean, they still played well in that game. And we got Swerve95 in the chat. He said 4-day turnaround could be a sloppy, low-scoring game. Yeah, I mean, you never know. But I know one of my friends in one of my group chats was talking about how, Cooper Kupp is back. Obviously Kevin O'Connell used to be with the Rams. I mean, the Rams could keep it close. But I do like the Vikings to bounce back in this game here. I just think right now they're the better team. And I think they should win. And right now they're 3-point favorites. I mean, I think they win by more than that. But again, what do I know? This is just my prediction. Swerve95, what he said in the chat, that could very well happen. It's a low-scoring game. But we'll see. I don't know. Right now, I just think the Vikings are the better team. I mean, had Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua not gotten hurt this year and they've been healthy this whole time, I think my opinion would be a little bit different. But because Cooper Kupp's just coming back, I mean, I don't really know what to expect from him. I mean, I expect Stafford, obviously, to get him the ball. But, he's coming off of an injury. So, and they're going to lean on Kyren Williams. It's going to be tough, though, because, I talked about it. Vikings' run defense is very good. But, I think Kyren will still find a way to have a good game. It's a quality running back. So, we'll see. And we'll see what this Rams defense could do against the Vikings offense. Can they slow him down? Can they slow Justin Jefferson down? We'll see. Because Sam Darnold has been solid this year. But we have seen games where, and we saw him turn the ball over against the Lions. And also, I know they beat the Jets, but Darnold didn't play well in that game. So, Sam Darnold's kind of regressed back to the mean a little bit. But he's still been good. So, we'll see what happens. But I think the Vikings win tonight. I'm going to say they win. I'm going to say they win 27-17. I'm going to say that's my score prediction, which is not low scoring like Swerve95 said in the chat, but I'm going to go with that. Again, I just think the Vikings are the better team. Now, it is a short week. So you got to take that into account. But again, the Vikings are coming off of a loss in a game they did play well in. So they just lost to a very good team in the Lions. So I'm gonna take the Vikings here. But hope Cooper Kupp has a good game. Hope the players that I have in fantasy do well tonight. Get me on the right track. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this game. Who do you think wins? Let me know in the comments. So we are going to take our first break of the show. And then when we come back, we will discuss the 49ers Cowboys game on Sunday. We'll talk about that. So with that being said, stick around. And we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh,
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please.
And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we're going to get into talking about the Cowboys-49ers game on Sunday night. It's a big matchup. Both teams, kind of need a win. The Cowboys are coming off of a bye, but the week before that, of course, the Lions destroyed them. And the 49ers, they really did not play that well against the Chiefs. Brock Purdy had 3 interceptions, so they lost the Super Bowl matchup. And, yeah, both teams coming in struggling. Niners at 3-4, Cowboys at 3-3. I did want to ask Swerve95 if he's still in the chat. What kind of fan are you? Because he did say we won't need a 67-yarder to win. So I'd like to know what fan are you exactly? Just curious. So yeah, and obviously the 49ers. Back to this game, the 49ers and the Cowboys. They, they've matched up against each other a few times these last few years, and the 49ers have gotten the best of the Cowboys. But this matchup is going to be a little bit different. Again, both teams are struggling right now. The Niners are dealing with injuries. The Cowboys are dealing with injuries themselves on the defensive side of the ball. Also, they haven't been great. Oh, okay. All right. So you're a Vikings fan. Gotcha. Swerve95 says Vikings. I think the Vikings should win tonight. That's my opinion. But anyways, so the Cowboys are dealing with injuries. They're not playing well. They can't really run the football. The defense has not been good. It's not been good. And, they're kind of searching for answers right now. They don't really have a threat outside of CeeDee Lamb. When you look at their pass catchers, Brandon Cooks is still on IR. It's not a very good Cowboys team. And I look at this game, and I think if there was a game for the Cowboys to win, this would be their opportunity to finally beat the Niners. The 49ers are dealing with a lot right now on both sides of the ball. Defensively, they're still waiting for Dre Greenlaw to come back. Offensively, Brandon Ayuk, of course, is going to be out for the year with a torn ACL. Deebo Samuel, he was discharged from the hospital, had pneumonia, fluid in his lungs. So, it's possible he could play. But, again, we're not sure about that. George Kittle is dealing with a bit of a foot sprain. So it's possible that the Niners could be down all their top weapons, including Juwan Jennings, too, because he hasn't practiced either yet this week. So if there was an opportunity for the Cowboys to beat the Niners, it would be this week. It is hard for me to see the Niners drop 2 in a row, but it definitely could happen. And Swerve95 says Zimmer's defense. And it's funny, you know all too well about that because he used to be their head coach. Yeah, and the Vikings used to have, and he used to coach some good defenses with the Vikings. Like when they went to the NFC Championship game against the Eagles, that was a good defense, even though it did get shredded in that championship game. But I don't mean to bring that up. But still, he used to coach some good defenses. It's just I don't know what's happened these last few years. Back in 2020, their defense was not good. And this defense for the Cowboys, and you would think it would be good because you see Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence and Trayvon Diggs. They got all these guys, and then again, you go back to the playoff game against the Packers, and they got shredded. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Now, I don't think we're really going to know what the status of, George Kittle, Juwan Jennings, and Deebo Samuel is going to be until we get closer to the game itself. Because right now, I'm trying to see. So DeMarcus Lawrence, he's not expected back until week 10. And right now, Micah Parsons is questionable. He didn't practice on Wednesday. So he may or may not come back. Brandon Cooks, his expected return is week 10. It's possible Deron Bland could come back for week 8 for this matchup. Again, I'm just looking at CBS. So right now, Afanga, he's out with the wrist injury. His expected return is week 11. Like I said, Juwan Jennings didn't practice. George Kittle didn't practice. Christian McCaffrey could be back, possibly week 10, maybe. We'll see what happens with Deebo Samuel, but yeah, it's not looking good right now for both teams. Both teams are coming in banged up. So looking at the league rankings, both teams are top 10 in passing yards per game. The Cowboys are second, 275.7 passing yards per game. The 49ers are sixth, 263 passing yards per game. In terms of rushing yards per game, the Niners are seventh. They're rushing for 149.9 rushing yards per game. And the Cowboys are dead last, 32nd, rushing for 77.2 rushing yards per game. Points per game, Niners are 8th, 25.7 points per game, and the Cowboys are 20th, scoring 21 points per game. And then looking at the defense, both teams not great against the pass. Niners defense is 14th, giving up an average of 217.3, and the Cowboys are 20th, giving up an average of 226.5. Rushing yards per game, the 49ers are 12th. They're giving up an average of 112.9, so kind of middle of the pack. And the Cowboys are 27th, giving up an average of 143.2 rushing yards per game. So you would think that they could, the Niners, they're going to lean on Jordan Mason. This could be a Jordan Mason game, similar to what we saw in Week 1 against the Jets, especially if they're missing a lot of their weapons. Jordan Mason could be huge in this game, and some of the other running backs as well. Points allowed, Niners defense is 16th, Cowboys defense is 31st. So, like I said, that could be the key in the game, is the Niners just running the football and have Brock Purdy manage the game. If he doesn't really have that many weapons. They did get Ricky Pearsall back last week, so that at least helps. But, they're dealing with a lot right now. At least if you could get George Kittle and Juwan Jennings for this game with Ricky Pearsall, and if Deebo is still out, they should be okay. But, if you're losing Kittle and Deebo and Juwan Jennings, that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. But my expectation is at least, I'm going to say 2 of the 3 will play in this game. I'm going to say Kittle does play, hopefully, and maybe Juwan Jennings comes back. I feel like Deebo is still, unknown. But, again, both guys didn't practice yesterday, so, that's not great. Even though a lot of times guys will not practice on Wednesday. We have to see what they do Thursday and Friday. So, and Swerve95 said in the chat regarding the Cowboys, and they overpaid useless Zeke, or useless Elliott. Yeah, I don't really know what the point of bringing Zeke back was. And also, they have Dalvin Cook. And, look, I don't know how much of an upgrade Dalvin Cook would be. I think he'd be at least better than Zeke. But, they brought him in and they have not elevated him to the active roster. So I guess maybe they just don't think there's anything there. Even though I keep seeing things that Mike McCarthy says, like, oh, he looks good, he has a chance to, make the roster. I'm pretty sure I've seen that, but it just has not happened. The Cowboys are one-dimensional right now. And but they don't have another threat outside of CeeDee Lamb. And CeeDee Lamb's not putting up the numbers that he did last year. So it's just this is not a very good Cowboys team. But I wouldn't be surprised if they actually pulled off this win. Just because of how banged up the Niners are. But I'm still going to lean towards the Niners in this game. I think depending on who plays and who doesn't. Because if they have, they get their guys back, some of their guys back for this game. Like, at least if they have Juwan Jennings in this game and George Kittle, I think they're all right. Juwan Jennings had a big game, if you remember, against the Rams. And that was basically Brock Purdy's number one weapon. They got Ricky Pearsall back. We'll see what kind of player he is for them. Taking on a bigger role. Because now with Brandon Ayuk out for the year, he's going to have to step up. But I think if they're missing everybody, they're going to rely on that running game. Because the Cowboys are a team that just can't stop the run. Now, they're coming off of a bye week, so maybe they corrected some things during that time. Or maybe not. It's going to continue to be the same thing. The Niners just, the Niners have owned the Cowboys, and that could continue in this game. Last year when they played on Sunday night, George Kittle had 3 touchdowns. I mean, the Niners just looked unstoppable in that game. And in the playoff game the year before that, the score was 19-12. So, I think the Niners win this game. In terms of a score, I'm going to say the Niners win 23-17. I'm going to say that. I mean, that might even be a little bit too much for the Cowboys. I don't know, but yeah, 23-17. I think they win this game. They get back on the right track. I mean, they're going to have to. I mean, it's hard for me to see them dropping back-to-back home games. But again, it's just they have not played well this year. They've been inconsistent. So, but I think they should win, get back on the right track, and for the Cowboys, they would drop to 3-4. So, that's my thoughts on the game. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you think wins? Let me know in the comments. So, before we go to break, I just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to click the Super Chat button in the chat to create a Super Chat of any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast. I will acknowledge it, and it just makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate your guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And then also the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCpodcast.net. That is GSMCpodcast.net. So, when we come back from our next break, we will discuss the Eagles-Bengals game for Sunday. We'll talk about that and who I have winning that game. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast, and for the third part of the show, we're going to now get into talking about the Eagles-Bengals game for Sunday. The Eagles coming in at 4-2 on the season. The Bengals, are they starting to get back on the right track. I mean, they're coming off of 2 straight wins. They beat the Giants, and then they beat the Browns. So, I mean, maybe. I mean, look, their offense has been great this year. Joe Burrow has played really well. It's just the defense has not been great. And, you know, they're going to need to be good on Sunday. They're going to have their hands full with the Eagles running game. So let's kind of just go through that matchup. I just got to change up a few things. Joe Burrow has 14 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. He is playing at an MVP level. It's just, again, you know, the defense, if only the defense was average, they definitely would have a few more wins. They would have a winning record right now, but that's not the case. So kind of looking at the league rankings for these two teams, the Bengals are 8th in passing yards per game. The Eagles are 19th, but the Eagles are 2nd in rushing yards per game. They are averaging 166.7 rushing yards per game, and a lot of that has to do with Saquon Barkley, who's been great for them this year. And then the Bengals are 28th, averaging 94.3. And then points per game, the Bengals are 10th, the Eagles are 17th. Defensively, the Eagles' defense actually hasn't been that bad. They're 12th against the pass, giving up an average of 210.5 passing yards per game, and then the Bengals' defense is 17th, giving up an average of 225.1. And then rushing yards, the Eagles are giving up an average of 115.2, which is 14th, and then the Bengals' defense is 21st, giving up an average of 136.1. So you would imagine that Saquon Barkley is going to have a big game here. And then points allowed, Eagles' defense is 7th, and the Bengals' defense is 20th. Now, it's been better these last couple of weeks, but again, against not very good offenses. Now this Eagles offense, I'm expecting more out of it. Because, again, Saquon Barkley's been great for them this year, but Jalen Hurts has not been so great. His touchdown to interception ratio is not the best. I mean, it's 7-4. You'd like to see those numbers, those touchdown passes up. But you know what? Jalen Hurts is a guy that hasn't thrown for a lot of touchdown passes in a season. Last year he had 23 touchdowns to 15 interceptions. The year before that was 22-6. And then 16 to 9 in 2021. So he doesn't throw a lot of touchdown passes. But, you know, with the tush push, he gets a lot of rushing touchdowns. But yeah, Saquon Barkley's been great this year. Like I said, 658 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns. A.J. Brown being back has been huge for this offense, has been a huge boost. The Eagles definitely missed him. He's had 3 touchdowns in all 3 games that he's played in this year, and he looks to continue that in this game. I mean, I expect this game to be high scoring. Right now, the Bengals are 2.5-point favorites. Bengals defense is going to have to step up to kind of contain this run. Make Jalen Hurts beat you throwing the ball. Yeah, I mean, I expect a lot of points to be scored. I mean, Jamar Chase, he's had a big year. You know, getting T. Higgins back has been huge for this offense. I do like I have liked what I've seen out of Chase Brown. One of their running backs. He's looked good at times during the year for them. Jamar Chase, like I said, he is leading the league in receiving yards. Got off to a slow start, but I think getting T. Higgins back, that's made a difference because now defenses are not just focusing in on Jamar Chase. They also have to pay attention to T. Higgins as well. But, yeah, I mean, the Bengals, have they turned the corner? I mean, if they could get a win here and get themselves back to 500, then I think maybe you could say that. But when you go back to the Ravens game, I mean, they put up a ton of points. The problem is their defense gave up a ton of points. And then Joe Burrow had a costly turnover late in that game that kind of made the difference. Well, he had 2 costly turnovers, I believe. There was the interception towards the end. I don't remember if the Ravens scored a defensive touchdown. I might be thinking of the Chiefs game because the Chiefs, you know, recovered a Burrow fumble and returned that for a touchdown. But regardless, Burrow had that interception late towards the end of regulation that led to the Justin Tucker game-tying field goal. Then we went to overtime, and then Burrow threw... actually, no. Burrow didn't throw a pick in overtime, but the Bengals just ran it, and then McPherson's kick was missed, and then the Ravens ended up scoring on their possession. But yeah, I mean, the Bengals' record could be better than it is right now. They could have beaten the Ravens. A lot of people complain about the pass interference call at the end against the Chiefs. They could have won that game. Burrow in that offense played well against the Commanders. It's just their defense could not stop anything. So, the Bengals, I think, are a better team than what their record says. The problem is, again, their defense. So, but I think they could get some pressure on Jalen Hurts. I think the key thing for them is containing Saquon Barkley. That's really what they have to do, because they're not good at stopping the run, and Saquon Barkley has had a great year, and he shredded the Giants last week. So, I think that's the key for the Bengals, but I just think this offense is going to put up points. It's hard for them not to, because they got two very good wide receivers, and they got a quarterback that's playing really well right now. And may still not be 100%, working his way back from the wrist injury, but I mean, he's been great. 14 touchdowns to 2 picks is very good. So, because you still see him, flexing the wrist at times, but he's looked good, and it's nice to see that, because when Burrow's right, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So, but I would like to see Jalen Hurts have a good game here, because there's definitely people out there. I mean, I'm probably one of them that are just saying, yeah, he's not playing great. And, you just hear all this stuff about Nick Sirianni. He's definitely treading on thin ice there. And if the Eagles don't have a good year, if they end up, falling flat, missing the playoffs, or maybe even being one and done in the playoffs. I mean, right now they're in a good spot. They're 4-2, but are they a good 4-2 team? I don't think so. I mean, you look at the Bears and the Packers right now. Actually, I think the Packers now are 5-2. The Eagles still are a team that I don't trust right now. And coming up on their schedule, I mean, after the Bengals, they got some winnable games. They got the Jaguars, then they're at the Cowboys, which I think that's going to be tough for both teams, just because both teams have not played their best. But maybe I'd lean towards the Eagles in that game. Then they got the Commanders at home on a Thursday night. I mean, Jaden Daniels, you hope, is back. It doesn't look like he's going to be playing on Sunday against the Bears. Then they got the Rams after that. Then they're going to be in Baltimore against the Ravens, which that's going to be a tough game. They got the Panthers. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where the Eagles end up finishing, because right now, I mean, they're second in the division. Cowboys are right behind them at 3-3, and the wild card, they're a half game back. They're behind the Bears. They're behind the Packers. So, I mean, they're not out of it. It's just the NFC's competitive. I mean, when you got the entire NFC North occupying playoff spots, it's going to be tough. So, we'll see what happens. But with this game here, it's definitely tough to pick. It's tough to pick because, again, I like the Eagles' rushing attack a lot with Barkley. I like the Bengals' passing game with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. But I am going to say that the Bengals get back to 500 in this game and they win a close one. I'm going to say the final score is 31-28. Bengals win, maybe on the last-second field goal by Evan McPherson. I expect Joe Burrow to play well. I think Saquon Barkley will have another good game. We'll see. But that's my prediction. I think it'll be a close, high-scoring game. So, and if the Bengals can get back to 500, that would be huge for them. Because right now you're looking up at the Steelers and the Ravens, the Browns. You just beat them, and they're only at 1 win at the moment. So, I like the Bengals to win, get themselves get themselves back to 500, and then they go from there. So, and they've only played, well, they played the Ravens once, they played the Browns, so they haven't played the Steelers yet. The Steelers are going to be getting to that tough part of the schedule. It's coming up, and the Bengals are a part of that. So, they got to play the Bengals twice. The Steelers still got to play the Browns twice, the Ravens twice. I mean, that's why they got to stack up these wins now. And they're playing the Giants, which we'll talk about that matchup later in the show. But they need to win that game as well. So, because if you could go into this tough part of the schedule at 6-2, I like their chances to get to those 9 wins that I've been talking about. And that's been a huge topic in our production meeting is the Steelers, because you have people that think that they would win 5 to 7 games, and then you have people like me that think they're going to get to 9. They're going to get that winning record, and they probably will, I think. But we'll see. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this Eagles-Bengals matchup. Who do you have winning? Let me know in the comments. It actually did get moved up to an earlier game. It was supposed to be a late afternoon game, but they kind of switched things around. Now they got Bears-Commanders in the later window. But unfortunately, some of the juice of that game got lost because it doesn't seem like Jane Daniels is going to play. But it should still be a good game. I mean, if Marcus Mariota plays like he did against the Panthers, which now you're going up against the Bears defense, that's really good. It could still be a good game, but definitely lost some juice if Jane Daniels is not able to go, which probably not. And probably be the right thing to keep him out of this game because, I mean, he's got a rib injury and, going up against the Bears defense, that's pretty good. So we'll see what happens. But, yeah, this game's going to be earlier. I think it'll be good. I got the Bengals winning, though. So we are going to take our next break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about the college football matchups for this weekend. We'll also get into the early slate of games in the NFL. There's no international game this week. So we'll get into all that when we come back from our next break. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we are going to now get into talking about college football matchups for this weekend, as well as the early slate of games on Sunday in the NFL. So I'll actually take a look back at some of the games from last week in college football. So didn't really get a chance to watch it. Well, actually, no. I did watch a little bit of the Miami-Louisville game. That was one of the best games of the weekend. Miami was able to get by and win 52-45 to improve to 7-0 on the season. Louisville drops to 4-3. That's a tough loss for them. Indiana, we've talked about them in our production meeting. They won 56-7 over Nebraska, who I will be seeing live on Saturday when I go see Ohio State, Nebraska. Yeah, they won 56-7. They improved to 7-0. They're now ranked 16th in the country, which is a surprise. Rutgers dropped a tough game to UCLA, 35-32. Wisconsin, 23-3 over Northwestern. South Carolina, they improved to 4-3 on the season, winning 35-9 over Oklahoma. Trying to see what other game. Well, obviously the Georgia Texas game. That was one of the biggest games of the weekend. Georgia ended up getting the win, which was kind of a shocker. I think most people probably had Texas winning, and we saw both quarterbacks play for Texas. I believe they benched Quinn Ewers for Arch Manning. So looking at their stats, actually no, maybe not. Arch Manning only went 3 of 6 for 19 yards. Quinn Ewers went 25 of 43 for 211 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Texas, they only scored their 15 points in the third quarter. But yeah, both teams are now 6-1 on the season. Georgia is now ranked 5th, and Texas is still number 1. But yeah, I mean, again, most people probably thought Texas was going to win. So then also Alabama, they lost to Tennessee. They lost, I think, 24-17. Tennessee improves to 6-1 on the season. Alabama drops to 5-2, and they'll be taking on Alabama. They'll be taking on Missouri, who's ranked 21 in the country. Michigan, they lost 21-7 to Illinois. Illinois 6-1 on the season, and big game on Saturday. They'll be taking on Oregon, so that should be an interesting game. And then Colorado 34-7 over Arizona. USC, another tough loss. I was looking at their games so far, and all of their losses have been one possession. They lost to Minnesota 24-17. They lost to Penn State in overtime by 3. They lost to Michigan by 3. And then they lose to Maryland by 1 point. So they've had some tough losses this year. LSU won 34-10 over Arkansas. Vanderbilt 5-2 on the season. They take on Texas this week. So we'll see if they can pull off another upset, because we know they beat Alabama a few weeks ago. Let's see if they maybe can pull off an upset. But I don't know. I don't know if I'd see Texas losing 2 straight games, but that's just me. So now we go to the slate for this week. Tonight we got a couple of games. You got 5-1 Syracuse against 6-0 Pitt. So that's at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That'll be on ESPN. Friday we got some games. Rutgers and USC. That's at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. You got Louisville and Boston College, both at 4-3. Also, Boise State at 5-1 against UNLV. So there's some good games tomorrow. Then on Saturday, you got Notre Dame and Navy. Notre Dame at 6-1, Navy at 6-0. Navy's a 12.5 point favorite, or 12.5 point underdog. Indiana and Washington. Washington 4-3. Indiana 7-0. You got Ole Miss against Oklahoma. Nebraska and Ohio State. I will be there for that game. Ohio State is a 25.5 point favorite. I expect them to win. Look at the other big matchups. Like I said, Mizzou and Alabama. BYU and UCF. Illinois and Oregon. That's going to be a good game, maybe. Texas and Vanderbilt. We'll see if Vanderbilt can pull off another upset. They're 19-point underdogs at home. You got Miami and Florida State. I mean, Miami should win that game. LSU and Texas A&M, both 6-1. That's going to be a good game. Texas A&M is 2.5 point favorites. Penn State and Wisconsin, SMU and Duke, and then you got Kansas State and Kansas. So we'll see. And in terms of the Ohio State Nebraska game, I mean, I'm really curious to see what this college environment is like at a college football game, because I've never experienced that before. So I'm looking forward to it. And I said this earlier, either whether it was last week or earlier in the week. There will be I will be taking some pictures and some videos, so don't be surprised if you see some shorts this weekend between that and then the Browns game that I'll be going to, Browns-Ravens on Sunday. So let's kind of go through the early slate of games in the NFL now. So you got the Jaguars and the Packers. Jaguars are 4-point underdogs. Packers coming off of a big win over the Texans. I like the Packers in this game. They're the better team. Jordan Love is playing really well. I know he is turning the ball over, which you got to worry about, but I just think the Packers are a better team. They got a pass rush on C.J. Stroud. They held him to 86 passing yards. I don't think they're going to do the same thing to Trevor Lawrence. I don't know. I think that's just how the game played out. But I know the Jags got to win, but they beat the Patriots. So I like the Packers to win this game. And also, I think Robert Saleh is joining the Packers staff in some capacity because he was at practice. Good for Saleh. Because a head coach might have not been his thing, but you know what? He can coach a defense. I do still believe that. So, and I think he still deserves to be on the sidelines in the NFL. Just maybe not as a head coach. And maybe he gets another shot at some point. But, it's nice to see that he at least, I don't know what his role is. It's kind of a minor role, I think. But it's nice that he was able to, find work somewhere else. The other game that I will be at this weekend, Browns-Ravens. Browns are 9-point underdogs. Jameis Winston will be getting the start another week with Nick Chubb back. Ravens are playing really well right now. They're playing really well. I think I might take the Browns with the points just because it's a big number, and I think the Browns offense will look a little bit better with Jameis at quarterback. I don't want to pick against the Ravens just because they've been playing so well lately, but maybe the Browns at least keep it close or they backdoor it. But I think the Ravens win this game. They've been playing some really good football. Then you got the Lions against the Titans. It looks like it's going to be Mason Rudolph once again this weekend starting. The Lions have had a problem beating the Titans the last few times, but I don't think it's going to be a problem here. I think the Lions, they win by a couple scores. They're 11.5-point favorites. That's a big number, but I'm going to take the Lions to win and cover. Then we got the Colts and the Texans. Texans are 5-point favorites. Yeah, I don't know what to do with this game in terms of the points. I think the Texans win. It's just, is Jonathan Taylor going to be back for this game? Anthony Richardson has not been great. And I don't trust the Texans when it comes to covering, even though I know a couple weeks ago they covered against the Patriots. But I think the Colts are a better team than the Patriots are. When these two teams met in week one, it was high scoring. I got the Texans to win. I'm going to lay the points as of right now, but subject to change. Then we got the Cardinals and the Dolphins. Right now, the Dolphins are 3.5-point favorites. We could be seeing Tua playing this week. I know Tyreek Hill is amped up. He was saying that, people got to start him with Tua being back. So if Tua's back, Tyreek Hill should do well. The Cardinals coming off of that win against the Chargers. They're 3-4. If Tua plays, I like the Dolphins to win and cover. If he doesn't, then I might take the Cardinals. So we'll see. And the Cardinals are traveling across country. We'll see. But if Tua plays, I like the Dolphins here. This game, I'm going to take them one last time, and if they can't win this game, then I don't know where the wins are going to be coming from for them. We got the 2-5 Jets against the 1-6 Patriots. The Patriots are 7-point underdogs at home. This has to be the game, right? For the Jets to get back on the right track. Has to be. I'm going to give them one last chance. If they lose this game, their season's over. Then their season is, to me, if they lose this game, then I'm done with them. I can't pick them anymore. I'm giving up on them even making the playoffs. This is the final straw here. So I'm going to take them to win and cover. I don't feel great about it. But the Patriots are not very good. The Jets should win this game. They're getting Hassan Reddick back for this game. They should have more of a pass rush. Drake May hasn't looked that bad. But I think the Jets should win this game. So I'm going to take the Jets to win and cover. And then the last matchup from the early slate, because we already talked about Bengals-Eagles, is the Falcons and the Buccaneers. So we did talk about this game yesterday. The Falcons, they've been inconsistent. The Bucs are banged up. I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this game to win. But I don't feel great about it. Now, you're probably saying, how are you picking them when they're down their top two wideouts? Well, I think they could rely on their running game, and I do think the Bucs are going to have some sort of game plan without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. They're going to lean on that running game. I mean, look, the Buccaneers' defense has not been great, but also the Falcons' defense hasn't been great either. Now, I don't think we're going to see a shootout like we did a couple weeks ago, but I do expect this game to be close. And the Bucs need to win this game because then you got the Chiefs and the Niners coming up. So they have to win and get even. At least get the split. So I'm going to take the Bucs in this game, although I don't feel great about it. So those are my picks for the early slate of games. We are going to take our final break of the show now. And then when we come back, I'll preview the late slate, as well as taking a look at the Monday night game as well. So for one final time today, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast, and for the final part of the show, we are going to get into previewing the rest of the games, including the Monday night game between the Giants and the Steelers, because once again, I will not be doing a show on Monday, but I will be back on Tuesday to recap it. And I'll recap all the games as well, especially the ones that I'll be at. Well, depending on how good they are. So to kind of go through the remaining games, so the late slate, so we got the 2-5 Saints at the 3-3 Chargers. The Chargers are 7.5-point favorites. They're coming off of a tough loss against the Cardinals, only kicking 5 field goals. And Justin Herbert, and we talked about this in the production meeting yesterday, Justin Herbert did play well in that game. He did throw for over 300 yards. Just, some of his pass catchers didn't do him any favors. Jalen Reagor fumbling the ball out of the end zone. That could have been 7 there. That would have been huge. But, yeah, they're looking to get back on the right track, and I think they will against the Saints. I mean, it's amazing how, the Saints get off to this 2-0 start, and they have lost 5 straight games since then. 5 straight. And Derek Carr doesn't look like he's going to play, so probably going to be another loss. The Chargers have a good defense, and I think they'll have their way. They'll run the football. They're a team that loves to run it. I think J.K. Dobbins will have a big game. And Herbert, he'll do what he's supposed to do. And I think they'll get the win here. So I like the Chargers to win. It's a big number, but I think they can cover. The next game is interesting. So you got the 4-3 Seahawks against the 5-2 Bills. This game is going to be in Seattle. The Seahawks are 3-point underdogs. Now, DK Metcalf, we'll see what his status is for this game, but I think if you lose him for this game, that's a big loss. Both teams are coming off of impressive wins. The Bills against the Titans, although the Titans are not good, but still, Amari Cooper, their new acquisition, scored a touchdown. Josh Allen continues to play well, has not thrown. I mean, this is unbelievable. This is week 8. He has not thrown an interception. He has 12 touchdowns to no interceptions. And we're in week 8. I mean, he's going to throw one at some point. So we'll see when that happens. But could it be this week? It's possible. This one's a tough game to pick. Because, the Seahawks are coming off of that big win against the Falcons. And, they're at home. They're getting the points. But, the Bills, they're playing good football these last couple of weeks. I mean, I'll take the Bills. I take the Bills right now. I don't feel great about it because, it could be one of those games that, they could drop. We'll see. But right now, I'll take the Bills. But also, again, if the Seahawks don't have DK Metcalf, then I'll feel a little bit more confident. But, we'll see. So this game right here, we got the Bears and the Commanders. So it doesn't seem like we're going to get Jayden Daniels for this matchup, which is unfortunate. It would have been nice to see the first 2 picks in the draft go at it. The Bears, before the bye week, they started to put things together. I know it was against the Panthers in Jacksonville, but you got to take that. They're running the football better. They've always been playing pretty good defense. But now you're getting this offense going. And I think during the bye week, the Bears probably worked on some things. And they might look even better coming out of the bye. I still don't trust this Commanders defense, even though they've been good at times this year. They shut down the Panthers, but Panthers are not good. I'm curious to see how this game goes, but I actually do like the Bears in this matchup. I like them to win. I know Marcus Mariota played well. We talked about this a little bit earlier in the show, but again, the Bears defense is good. It's a solid unit, and I like the Bears to win this game. So I'll take the Bears here, and then I'll get them to 5-2 on the season. And then speaking of the Panthers, they will be taking on the 4-3 Denver Broncos. Broncos are 10-point favorites. Bryce Young actually will be playing in this game because Andy Dalton was involved in a car accident, but he's fine. He's everything's okay, it seems, with him, but he will not be playing in this game. It'll be Bryce Young once again. So, I like the Broncos to win, but 10 is a big number. It's a big number. So I don't know what to do there. I might still take the Broncos just because, they're going to run the football. And, Bo Nix, at times looked good in that game against the Saints. So I think, and the Panthers they're just not good. They're not good. So I'm going to lean towards taking the Broncos to cover. I definitely think they'll win. But right now I'm leaning towards taking them to cover. And then the other game we got here, so we got the Chiefs and the Raiders. So the Chiefs, coming off of that win against the 49ers, they're 6-0. They're the only undefeated team remaining left in the NFL. Against the 2-5 Raiders, coming off of that loss against the Rams. And it's going to be Gardner Minshew. Aiden O'Connell started that game, ended up getting hurt. He's going to be on IR. He was placed on IR. So it's going to be Minshew. They did bring in Desmond Ridder to be the backup. But, that's what it's going to be right now. It's going to be Gardner Minshew moving forward. And the Raiders are 9.5-point underdogs at home. I expected them to be better this year just because, I thought they would finish around the same record that they had last year, but it looks like it's going to be a lot worse than that. I still don't know how they beat the Ravens. That just didn't make any sense. But that did happen. They did beat the Ravens. And, this is a divisional game. But I just think, the Raiders, they're in disarray right now. They traded away Devontae Adams. They can't run the football. I thought Zamir White maybe be a little bit better, but he hasn't been the lead back. It's really been Alexander Mattison. So they can't really run the football. They're kind of one-dimensional. I will say the one positive from their offense has been Brock Bowers. He's been solid for them this year. So at least they have, one piece to kind of build around when it comes to that offense. And, we'll see. Is Max Crosby, is it possible that, maybe he's traded? because, he did talk about not wanting to be part of a rebuild, but as of right now, he's still there. And then with the Chiefs, they got DeAndre Hopkins, and the expectation is he's going to play, and I'm curious to see what he's going to look like with this offense. Is he going to be the D-Hop of old, or what? What's he going to look like? And he's an older player now, still kind of banged up, but my prediction is he's going to score a touchdown in this game. The Chiefs are going to target him in the red zone. I'm curious to see what he's going to do. I mean, if the Chiefs got DeAndre Hopkins a few years ago, it would have been bigger news, but now it's just, he's been injured, and, playing with the Titans, last year he did have over 1,000 yards. So it's not like, he's far removed from that. And, I forget what I was watching an Instagram post, but just the amount of quarterbacks that he's played with over the course of his career, and he was still able to produce. I mean, it's really impressive. Now you're probably playing with, this is the best quarterback you're probably going to ever play with in Patrick Mahomes. And you had prime Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray, they did well together. But playing with Patrick Mahomes, this is the best quarterback that he's ever played with. Oh, maybe not Matt Schaub. No, I'm just kidding. So we'll see. But I like the Chiefs to win and cover. Their defense is playing really well. And look, the wins have not been pretty for the most part this year, but they just still find ways to win. And, now you bring in DeAndre Hopkins, and hopefully, they get Isaiah Pacheco back within the next few weeks. But can the Chiefs go undefeated? Because they got the Raiders, which I think is a win. The Bucs with no Mike Evans and no Chris Godwin, that should be a win. The Broncos, the Broncos could give him a hard time with the defense, but I think that should be a win. They got the Bills and the Texans, and then they're also at the Steelers. Those are probably the toughest games left on the schedule. Could the Bills be the team that knocks them off? Because Josh Allen owns Patrick Mahomes in the regular season. It's the postseason where he's had a problem. In the regular season, Josh Allen has owned Patrick Mahomes. So could it be that Week 11 game against the Bills? Could that be the week that the Chiefs lose? We'll find out, but they could also go undefeated. They could. I think the Bills, the Bills game is the toughest game left that they have. They got the Texans, but that's at home, and I don't know. The Texans on the road, I don't know. We'll find out. So I like the Chiefs to win and cover, like I said. And then finally, the Monday night game, it's the Giants against the Steelers. It's going to be my mom's team versus my dad's team. Well, the Giants are my team, but they really haven't been my team in a long time because of how they've played. See, this game I feel like could be a trap because when we think the Giants have no chance of winning a game, they'll pull something out, just like they did in Seattle. But they do have no left tackle. Andrew Thomas being out, you saw that just changed everything on the offensive line. The Eagles just had their way with the Giants' O-line, 8 sacks, and now they're going up against Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt, the best defensive player in the NFL. Steelers' defense is playing really well. The Giants' defense could give that Steelers' offense a problem. I don't think Russell Wilson is going to have the game that he had against the Jets because the Giants actually do have a good defense. Giants' defense right now is better than the Jets' defense. But the problem is the Giants just can't generate any kind of offense. So I like the Steelers to win. The 6 points is tough to lay, but I'm going to lay them just because the Giants can't score. But it will not surprise me if the Giants somehow won this game because they would just do that. So to kind of run through the picks again, so I like the Packers. Again, I might change some of them, but I like the Packers right now to win and cover. I like the Ravens to win, but the Browns to cover, the Lions to win and cover, the Texans to win and cover, The Dolphins to win and cover. The Jets to win and cover. The Bucks to win. They're the underdog right now. Bengals to win and cover. Chargers to win and cover. Bills, Seahawks is tough to pick. Might change it, but I like the Bills. The Bears I like. The Broncos, the Chiefs, the 49ers, and the Steelers. Might have to change some of them. But yeah, we got a full slate. Oh yeah, and then the Thursday night game, I like the Vikings. So you're probably saying, oh, you're picking all the favorites. So we might have to go and change some. We'll have to go through it. But yeah, that is pretty much it for the show for today. I thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the other shows. Give the other shows some love. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the video. Greatly appreciate it. And yeah, so as always, I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Reminder that there'll be no show tomorrow. I'll be back on Tuesday. There'll be no show on Monday either. I'll be back on Tuesday. But yeah, have a good day. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy all the games. And I will talk to you guys on Tuesday. Take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.